Okay, you guys, I am so excited to be here with, I want to say he's a new friend, but I feel like I've known this guy forever. Bart Miller is somebody that when he talks, you listen because you know what he's saying is going to help you in one way or another. Even if he didn't plan on saying, hey, I'm going to say something that's going to help somebody. This guy's truly a pioneer on multiple different fronts in business and has become a friend and a supporter and somebody that I know I can call, whether it's about business or whether it's about my kids or whether it's just about my own mindset issues. And so I'm super excited to have my friend Bart joining us here on the show today. Thank you so much for coming. I love that you're here. And I love what we're going to talk about today. So give everybody like a little quick background about all of we'd be here all day if we talked about all of the billion-dollar cowboy businesses you built. Yeah. But tell everybody a little bit about you.
So luckily enough, I've been in the internet marketing space for 15 years. I got in the internet space kind of a unique way. I lost everything, and I was in it's called reformulated fuels and lubricants, which nobody's going to really know what that is. Like, it was a crazy business I was in. I was selling a product into the Japanese shipping companies, all sorts of stuff. But long story short that was not what the universe wanted me to do. So it put an abrupt halt to that very quickly. And it was one of those things in life that you really never want to face. But on this end, I'm super grateful I did face it. So at that time, 15 years ago, Tony Robbins, Chet Holmes were putting on their first mastery, their big business mastery course for the first one that they ever did. And they shot it in Las Vegas, Nevada. And long story short, I was able to attend that. And at that event, everybody was newbies in the internet marketing, really. It was crazy. Like, we were all talking about stuff that was like today it's like we'd all laugh at. But back then, everything was hard coded. Everything, it took so long to build something. It was like we really were pioneers in that time period, making things happen. And long story short, I started a company 15 years ago called Robert Jones Beauty Academy. And it was an online makeup school. It still is an online makeup school. And there's a lot of people out there that love to build courses. But luckily enough, we've had a course that's been running for 15 years. And that just says a lot for the quality of the course, the time we put in the course, and where that course fits in its ecosystem. So still have that course. And then a few years into my career, I ended up getting into the e-commerce space. And we ended up becoming one of the top 1% of all Amazon sellers in e-com. And so what it did for me is it taught me how to be a course creator and then how to put products into all sorts of things and how both ecosystems can not only work together, but they can also work separately. So right now, my amazing wife and young, amazing daughter that just got married are building a e-commerce project together, which is super awesome. So I'm old enough now that my family now is in the business and we're mentoring our kids through the same models that I mentor other professional internet marketers from. So my career has really blessed me to bless my family to live the lifestyle that I live, but they get to live it from an earlier lifestyle or an earlier age. And so my daughter and wife are doing that. My son does another part. He runs all my traffic for my e-commerce businesses. He's learning all the back end of that. And I could go on all day, but briefly, I love time. So one of the things that a lot of people in the internet space get mad at me about is, Bart, I don't hear you a lot. I don't see you all over the internet. Like, you're not a Russell Brunson. You're not this. You're not that. And it's like, you're right. It's because I'm very picky with what I do because I only need to make X amount of money to live the lifestyle I want to live. And I created it as a business, not as a job. And that's what I really, really focus on. So thanks for having me here. Thank you for being a friend. You are an amazing human to watch. Whoever you're teaching, mentoring, they ought to listen every word you say, because every time you're on a Clubhouse, every time I see or listening to your podcast, I can't edify you enough. I learn from you as much as you learn from me. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much. And I will say that I love, so the whole kids behind the scenes thing, we've done clubhouse rooms on this, right?
Yeah.
We could do a whole entire show on like raising our teenage entrepreneurs and having our entrepreneurs families. But you guys make sure that we're going to let you know how you can keep up with Bart. It's so cool on his Instagram and everything. You get to see all the cool projects that his kids are working on too. And it really, truly is entrepreneurship in lifestyle entrepreneurship in action. So, I want to make sure everybody follows your daughter's candles and your
awesome
videos of your wife. And I mean, it's very, very cool. All right. So today there were a million different things that I could ask you to teach about on today's show, right? And that's what I was thinking about today. I'm like, I wonder what, we're going to talk about on today's show. And, so we chatted about it before behind the scenes, you guys, and making sure that we're really bringing informative, trustworthy content that you guys can take to the bank with your business, because that's what this podcast is all about. And we are going to dive into something that you've probably started hearing about a little bit. You might not actually know what it is or whether or not it's something that could be a good tool for your business, could be a business model that you might want to work with, or even the structure of live virtual events.
Yep.
So let's get a little bit of background. Like, what are we actually talking about? What do we mean by live virtual events? How have they come about, especially in the last 8 months? And well, probably a lot longer than that, but that people are talking about it. And let's just start foundationally. What is it? Okay. Who might want to use it? Who and how you were teaching this? And we'll kind of go through some of these segments here. All
right. I'm going to have you keep me kind of organized so I don't get scattered.
I will keep you organized. So let's really kind of start out with that. What literally is the business model of a live virtual event, and who or what type of business might this be good for? Let's start there.
Awesome. So a live virtual event is one thing that we want to make sure it's clear is it is live. This is not a pre-recorded event that you see that a lot of people are trying to do. No, seriously, like there's a big difference, right? So there could be a million different glitches, a million different things that happen because this is a live event. Now, virtually means that you're not in person. And I'm not going to define that because I think anybody's stupid, but because a lot of people go, well, you're just doing an event. It's like, no. It's remote, right? So it's a live virtual event. Now, how did live virtual events become like really top of the mind for a lot of entrepreneurs? Well, the famous thing called COVID really set us all where we couldn't attend events. So the event space for speakers, for companies, for a lot of things, boom, stopped, just went to a screeching halt. And those of you that are in the business space or that are really trying to understand your career, I'm going to teach you one thing that'll just hopefully you'll get just a huge nugget right here. In your career, all paths lead to the stage. All paths lead to the stage. Now, a lot of you are like, what does that even mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you that, and then I'll go back to live virtual events. What that means is this. Does Taylor Swift make more money at a concert or by just selling CDs? Or just by doing her Instagram? Well, think about what you're willing to pay and invest to actually see a human in person. Is the sound better in person?
Yeah.
We hope so, but I would bet the CD's actually, right? All said
you're right.
Probably recorded better. I mean,
True.
because
Yes.
it's live. Mm-hmm. It's live, right? And as much as we want it to be. So it's flawed like a virtual event. It's, there's all these things, but all paths lead, because what happens is when you have butts in seats, or when they're in your ecosystem, like a concert or at a big event, you're emerged. You're emerged, okay? Now, anything else just can't, it's just not, I've never found anything but events that are that powerful for humans. So I've always said in my career, the more stages that I stand on, the bigger the checks I'm going to be able to write. Because first of all, my content has to be good enough that people want to put me on a stage.
Right.
It has to sell, because I sell from stage. Mm-hmm. So it has to be blessing people's lives, or I'd be booed off the stage when I get there.
Right.
So there's a lot of variables that we all want to think about when it comes to all paths lead to the stage. And I don't want to get on a rant here, but they do. The more stages you stand on, the more events you put on, the bigger paychecks you're going to make, and the more you're going to relate to your audience. So when virtual events started to really hit the forefront in COVID, then it was like, okay, how do we do this? We're doing webinars, we're doing this, we're doing that, but how do you actually put an event on and make it as impactful as if I was going to a actual live event? Mm-hmm. Well, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it does. And I mean, and that's an interesting, I love that you shared that, is that all paths lead to the stage. And I think that it really does come down to that experience. And the reality is that when we engage and when we trust, it is through relationship, like no matter what. And I love the event capacity, even if it's virtual, because it's so much more than anything pre-recorded. But I had never really thought of that before, that all pathways lead to the stage. That isn't necessarily something that I had always thought about. And it hasn't been something in the past that has been a big part of my business model. But yet in the last 3 years, it really has. Much more speaking, many more events, actually in person until COVID, and now in person again. And so it's very, very interesting that you say that. And I understand the psychology behind that. And as somebody who loves to connect with people, I would so much rather do that by listening to you in that capacity, in a live capacity, and actually not having to be polished, be truly just who you are up there in front of me, pouring into me with that wisdom, whether it is virtual or in person. But yes, okay, so we can't do it in person anymore. It ended in person, and although some things are going back to in person, now the world knows the secret that we can do amazing things virtually and stay in our pajamas and still get a total transformation. So talk to us about what businesses, when we're talking about a live virtual event, you structured it out exactly what it is, but now what businesses might want to utilize a live virtual event business model within their suite of offers? Who are you seeing is really resonating with this?
Very good. So one thing I want to bring up too is, before we go on, is now if you go to like certain events, so let's say Funnel Hacking Live, the virtual event ticket costs the exact same amount as the in-person does.
I noticed that.
Yeah. Speakers now are getting paid just as much virtually to speak as they are in person. So it's changed that whole game. So you'll watch that. The other thing it's done for you is it's able to get you overseas when most of those overseas people could never get to you through virtual events. Now, who's this ideal for? Who is the ideal client, right? Obviously, I'm going to tell you everybody. Okay. because reality is, if you have something to sell, people have to get to know, like, and trust you, which is what a virtual event does if you structure it the way I think it needs to be structured. Now, ideally, depending on how much money you want to make will depend on if a virtual event is good for you or if you should be doing some other things. If it's a low hanging, so let's just put it this way. If it's $1,000 and below, you're going to have to put a lot of butts in seats at that ticket price, right? Because you're going to have to get them in the door, in the seats. Think about this, just like an event. I want you to think about it. If you were going to sell a $50 item or a $100 item, right, at this event, how many butts and seats do you have to get? Because it doesn't matter if they're in person or remotely. You got to do it. It's a math game. So business really comes down to marketing done right alleviates the need to sell. And when you're an accountant and you do the math, you can stay in business. When you don't, you'll get yourself out of business. So it's a marketing game with a math game. That's what business really, in my opinion, comes down to. Okay.
Yeah. And so, people don't teach that. Can we just stay there for a second? People don't teach that. Okay.
No.
And then I'm taking it on I promise you I'd keep us organized, and here I'm not. But that's an important thing to say. All right, let's stop there for a second, because it is a numbers game, right? Yep. And I think that people just launch stuff and they do stuff to do it, but they don't even understand the reverse engineering of the numbers. That, if you need to have 100, tickets sold, then the percentage of the actual conversion percentage is here. How many people do you actually have to reach? It's like basic algebra, but people don't do this. And those are, frankly, those are very sobering numbers. And I think that if people looked at those sobering numbers in the beginning and saying, okay, listen, if I'm going to convert it even 30%, which is technically very high, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to have to reach, 5,000 people to fill those seats for my event. I just wanted to stop there for a second because it's a very not sexy part, but it is so powerful when you stop to realize the conversion of what you need to fill, how many people you need to reach, and the strategies in which to do that. And you and I talk a lot about like framework, and we could geek out on that forever. But when you guys know this, if you're listening to this episode here, if you know these numbers, or if you don't know these numbers, start here and know your numbers. So taking us back on track. We are talking about now low ticket versus high ticket for these events. Now, are you referring to the cost of the event or the cost of what is sold after the event?
So after the event is always on our mind, right? But let's be clear. You can't plan on that unless you understand your conversion rates. So if you're new to this and you have never done a virtual event, you've never sold from stage, right? Your numbers could be very low. They could be down to 10%. 5%, you may not make money, even if you have a high ticket, depending on what you're getting somebody in the door for. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. That's why I bring the mathematics up. Because if you come through in my programs, the one thing that we're very, very anal about is, do you have an audience right now? Okay. Can you fill a room right now? I can make you wealthy if you can fill a room. Because at the end of the day, even if you can't pitch, I can. There are people who can. So therefore, if you may not be able to sell yourself, but I guarantee you, I can sell you better than you can sell yourself. That's what I do. Okay.
I believe that.
Yeah. Just trust me on that. And the other part is I'm not going to lie. There's people who can sell me better than I can sell myself. When April sells me, I guarantee you're all listening way better than if I got on here and say, hey, by the way, this is how cool I really am. You're all like, yeah, we get it. Right? We've heard it from everybody that's got their picture with their Lamborghini. And I don't have that picture. I have a picture with a horse and a tractor. It's just not as cool. But nonetheless, here we go. Let's keep on track. So my point is it's all about your numbers. And when I tell you that you've got to have, so let's say that you're selling a $30,000 offer on the back end. Okay, well, I can afford maybe $600 a lead, as crazy as that sounds, because the math will work out, right? But we always have to architect it backwards. So if you're asking me if you should do a virtual event, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, what's the price, right? So for the $97 to a 2-day event, that 2-day event's going to take you into your high ticket. How many tickets have I got to sell at $97? First of all, to try to offset ad spend. And can I offset ad spend with the $97? And I can tell you 99.9% of the time, no, it's not going to work. It's not. You're going to break maybe halfway. You might get 50% of your ad spend back. Okay, that's normal. But then your high ticket on the other end, you've got to close. We figure the numbers at a 20%. People want to figure I'm always on the high end. I'm always, let's just go right in the middle. And if you're nervous, then I go to a 15%. Okay. At a 15%, then I do the math there on what they got to take for the high ticket, and then we do the math from there, and that answers all the questions on how much we can take away from an event. At that point in time, the rest is strictly architecting and doing a system, and this is the thing I teach everybody. If you ever invest in me or you ever invest in April, it's awesome, but you can't buy me. But when you buy my systems, you'll crush it. Because my systems, I try to make them, I don't try to, they are bulletproof. Like when you go through my systems, they're structured in a way for you to have success. And if you're ever around me a long time, I'll tell you recipe stories. I'll tell you all these system stories because it's not that I don't think I'm great, but at the end of the day, you're not buying me. You're buying my system to get you the success that you want at the end of the day. Okay. So that's what an event is for those who are willing to take and do the math, and their math can look at their offers they have right now, and their offers have to be congruent. And those offers can reward them at the end of what they're going to invest and what it's going to cost them to get a person to sit in that seat.
And really quick, let me say something about the systems too. You guys, as Bart was saying that, if so the reason why we bank on systems is because they're obviously predictable and measurable, and we know we're going to get these results. But it's also because we, as creators, as leaders, as teachers, we need them too, right? So most of the systems that we create is because we needed them because nobody else had them. And we couldn't get them from somebody else. Or like Bart buys systems. If you have a great system, Bart's probably going to want to buy your system, you know? Yeah. And so the systems create measurable, predictable results. And that's why something like this, like Bart teaches, is so powerful. You guys know when you get into a process like this, that you can expect the outcome. Right. And that is the difference of what I will just tell you. You know, people you buy, people you trust, make sure they have a system. That's right. Otherwise, that you're buying them just to be your cheerleader, and oftentimes that's just not going to get you very far. So with that being said, let me go back to high level. Okay, so when we're talking, for any of our listeners that are like, okay, I might feel a little lost on actually what we're talking about. So when we're talking about the actual flow, the actual funnel of this, you know, if you feel like you might be a little confused, this is what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about using lead gen to sell a lower ticket live event that delivers, we could probably call it a micro transformation, but an amazing experiential transformation that gives amazing results in that live event itself, but then leads to this higher ticket offer.
That's correct.
And so if you guys, or if you aren't seeing that, if you're a visual person like me, I just want you to see like 3 little dots across the map, like, okay, lead gen, live event, which is what we're really digging into here, offer, sale, whether it's high ticket or mid-range or whatever. So it doesn't have to be high ticket after that.
You want me to draw something? Will they see it here on the board?
They will see it. They'll see it. Well, the audio podcast, yes, draw it out. And I'm going to, as you draw it out, we'll record
kind
it.
Kind of visually. Okay. So what I think is ideal in today's marketplace, right? If I can find my little pen here, is first thing you do is you have lead gen, right? So Facebook ad, you can do this as whatever kind of traffic that you really want to get there. So you can barely see that. Then what that does is that leads them right now, either we suggest you go to a $7 offer or a free offer, because the lead right now is cheaper by a long ways to get somebody into a free. It's not as good a quality, but it gets them in your ecosystem, right? So right now we're taking them into a free offer or a 7-day offer, which takes them into a 5-day. So that takes them into a 5-day event. That 5-day event sells them into a $97 ticket.
So I'm raising my hand for all of our people that are just listening in audio. Let me kind of fill it in. You guys need to watch this behind the scenes on our YouTube channel, because you'll be able to see all of Bart's graphs here. But he drew a circle on the left, and that is a representation of that Facebook ad. And then he has 5 circles across, which are that live event. So let me ask you, Bart, examples of that micro 5-day live event. Is this like a 5-day challenge or just 5 days showing up on video?
Yeah, so this is a 5-day. So for no better, this is so webinars, right? When people talk about webinars, I want to talk about webinars just really quickly, because this is a very important thing. When I hear of Russell Brunson's webinar, and that's who I base webinars off of when I hear webinar, because I come from that ecosystem. I love Russell's one of my very best friends. I love him to death, but I call that the sales mechanism. And a webinar really is a sales mechanism that he teaches you, and it's a process. Okay, but really, what a webinar is trying to do is take you through a process that equates to a sell. Okay, so if we're all on the same page of that, I break the webinar down into 5 days.
Got it.
So I deliver the webinar
makes sense.
in 5 days. Then I break it down again, no kidding, into 2 days. And then I use that, and then I put them on a sales call. They're in my ecosystem. Now, so when people say webinars are dead, I can't disagree with the short amount of time period you're trying to sell somebody. That's what it says to me. When I'm trying to sell somebody in an hour today on a high ticket item, that is a thing of the past, in my personal opinion. But through a virtual event is the first time that you can really get to know Bart Miller on a level you've never gotten to know me before. And in 5 days, this is something that just so whoever's putting virtual events on, you need to think about. The reason people don't show up for events, why do they not show up for events? Okay, this is a big question you want to ask yourself. And I'll tell you the only two reasons that I feel like people don't show up for events. Number one is they have no skin in the game. They don't pay for it.
True.
Yeah. They don't care. So therefore, it's like, whatever. That's why the top one, the 5-day, I sell it for $7. People are like, are you kidding me? Does it really make that big a difference? Answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Significantly, because they bought it, right? Now, number two is because they don't feel like you're really going to teach them anything of value.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't feel like they're going to teach you anything of value. Now, because if I did, I don't care what it is, I'll show up. Or life just gets in the flat way. Okay, now, there is that one. Let's be clear. But most of the reasons that there's no urgency to this event is because I don't feel like it's going to change my life. You're not going to give me that much value, or I don't have enough money invested. Because I guarantee you, 99% of you, if you signed up for my high ticket for $30,000 or this virtual event thing for $50,000, you're going to put it on your calendar and you're going to show up.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
When you don't pay attention. Okay, so let's go back to this. And so the 5-day, go ahead. You have a question?
Well, yeah. So what I was going to say, okay, on that, webinars are dead. I love that, actually, because I agree with you 100%. And that we can't convert high ticket offers from talking to somebody for an hour the way that we used to anymore. Yeah. It works great for 10 years. Actually, it works great. It's not working anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, I also think that some of the coaching programs we're selling are even more valuable, more transformational, and actually more expensive than they were in 2012. So There you go, that too. Okay. So, but I love the way you do this because you're still covering the same content and you're giving them like micro bites of hanging out with you during these 5 days. That's Genius. Right. Yeah, and they do have to pay $7 for it, which absolutely totally does matter. And when you were saying it was $7, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, really, $7? Okay, but it's not even. It could be $2. It does. I don't even think it's about that cost. It's just about a cost, right?
The reason, well, yes and no. So I will tell you that there is somebody. His name, I don't know if I should disclose his name or not, but I'm happy to because that's who I learned it from. It's Anthony Morrison. But Anthony Morrison did a whole bunch of research on what the ideal low ticket cost was. He did everything from $99 and worked it backwards. $7 was the number one bought offer is what he said. Okay, so I was like, that's amazing. Even just so you know, over free.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
That was me.
Okay.
And so I call it coffee money offer. So I'm calling it my coffee money offer because you go buy an energy drink or a coffee, it's $7, right? I mean, no, it's really not, but I mean, it's in that proximity. So I call it the coffee money offer.
It is at Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's right there. So that's what they're getting into. They're paying $1 a day for an hour a day of my time. But by the end of that, they've got 5 hours with me and they figured out if they commit. Now I actually make the offer on day 4. So that my offer is made day 4. So right after
offer to the live event offer.
Correct. That's correct. Selling them on the fact that if they enjoyed what they've got over the last 4 days, I'm going to go further in depth in all those same concepts. They're going to learn more, but this time they have to put more skin in the game to be able to learn more because it's an intensive.
Right.
Okay.
Genius. And so you have 5 days, and then we bring it into 2 days. And let me make sure that everybody's with us, which, we have really smart people that are hanging out here with us on the podcast. I'm sure everybody's with us, but we ran the ads, and then we put them into this 5-day webinar now that are mini micro webinars. And then we bring them that's $7. And then we bring them another step deeper of getting to go into a 2-day. Now, is that second 2-day? Do you break those up in weeks? Like, do they take the weekend off? Or how do you usually, I know I'm asking you tons of details. But
good question. So here's how it works.
How does that work?
The 5-day runs. We close them into the 2-day. 2 weeks later, we run the 2-day. The reason we do that is because we're running traffic as much as we can to fill the 2-day because that's what's costing us so much money. So we're working those 5-day people to try to get them most definitely as many as we possibly can sold. That's 2 weeks. And then we start the ads all over after that, back into the 5-day, 2 weeks rolls. We're doing the 5-day, 2 weeks rolls. I'm in a 2-day, 2 weeks roll. So that's the cycle.
Amazing. Okay. And then I really, really love that. Okay. I really, really would love this. So let's dive in. And that's super high level. Thank you for laying that out. I needed to see it here. And so I love that you drew this. You guys, if you're not listening or if you're not watching behind the scenes, you need to watch the video of this because Bart has the coolest new toy.
Yes, I do.
What is this thing? Anyway, we were watching this on.
Yeah. It's a Samsung Flipboard, which means I can flip it right here. So I can turn this board right now, just like this, and then I can turn around and make my offer all the way, or I can do whatever I want and teach you this way or this way. It will actually go live on the internet, so I could bring up this right here on here, and then I could draw all over it. I can do anything on here. So my son was on here the other day. He had a picture of his sister, and he was doing her makeup. And when she walked in, she could have died at what he had her looking like. But he's on here drawing. And I can also go back to here, and then I can go here, and I can go back to here, and I can pull up anything that I've done. So I could say this, email this, or like last night, this would be a picture that my boy created.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is the coolest thing. Okay, we'll make sure a link to this video is obviously in the show notes of this show. This is the coolest thing. For those of you guys that like whiteboarding, this is like, I thought I was cool with using my Notability that goes onto my Zoom. This is super next level. So definitely getting one of those. So going back to the structure of the event itself, and this is your magic. This is your method. All those other things we talked about are the structure of the funnel and selling people into it, and all of it's part of your overall method. But when we're talking about the live event itself, yep, this is absolutely a transformational process, both in what they're going to learn and their emotional mindset experience. And I already, even without you saying that, I already know that you have that engineered into there because that's what you do. And we can't dive into all of it. You guys need to go hang out with Bart, follow Bart. We're going to give you a link where you can go. I'll tell you what it is right now. It's $1,000,000monthmethod.com. And you can tap into this repeatable, predictable system for your business as well by starting out, by experiencing Bart's. And so that's where I'm going to be. And that's where I want you guys to go to also. But let's talk a little bit about the structure of this 2-day event. Why 2 days?
Yep.
And can you kind of break out some of the components of the flow of how you structure this?
Yeah, so the importance of 2 days is because of immersion. I'm saying that like, sorry about that. I'm murdering that word. But it's because what we have found that is that if people get on there and they actually book time out to learn the topics that you're teaching, they're into that subject. Because if not, you've got rid of all those, right, that aren't supposed to be there, which we should have done before we ever got on. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. But day one, when you go in there to this event and you spend 4 to 5 hours and you can see your numbers. I mean, we're seeing how many people are on and how long they're staying throughout the entire event, right? So the reason you do that is because by the time I'm done with day 1.5, I can make an offer and I still have time to teach. So I don't know if people caught that, but day one, I got a day and a half. I make the offer right before lunch on the second day, right? Then I'm able to come back after lunch, after I got a whole bunch of people in, brag about all the people that we got in, how much we sold, what happened, edify all of them, reward them. But those who didn't, I understand, are analytical buyers a lot of times. I can finish my education, repitch, and then close them by the end of that day. Okay, so there is a psychology to all of this, right? And those of you that don't know this is the psychology starts obviously on the 5-day event. Then it impacts even higher level on the 2-day event. How you do your 2-day event and how all the emails leading up, during, and after are the key to the success of these virtual events. And I'm not going to lie, April, they're a freaking lot of work.
Yeah.
But so is everything you're going to do to get people in your ecosystem. So you can either go and you know this, and I know this. You can either go and try to hammer this out. You can actually go funnel hack mine. Like, you can go watch it. We do it we're doing this I'm not just selling you the method. I'm actually letting you watch it. We're testing all these things. We're bringing it back to the group. That's why the offer is so freaking high. When I tell you it's $50,000 to get my ecosystem, I'm not lying. Yeah. Like, it is. But you're going to learn so much that from one event, well, knock on wood, like, you should more than produce $50,000 unless you just don't flat have an audience. But when you start running this, that's what I'm getting at. You're going to start to see the process. So you can go funnel hack it. But the problem is, it's like watching a magician. You think you caught what he did to make the bird fly out of the hat, when reality is you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. Right. And that's the funny part about life is I hate to say it, but I'm as tight as they come. I squeak sometimes when I walk down the street a little bit because I'm tight. Like, it comes to lunchtime and I'm like, God, I can't quite get in my pocket. I don't know what the hell happened. Like, I'm not really not that. I'm just joking, but you get my point. Like, I get those type of people, right? And I understand that they may not have the income. I get it, but at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to look for, is people who are taking action, they're doing it, and they have the system. I'm not trying to sell you on me. I'm just saying, but that's what I'm saying. Don't just go funnel hack me. Go try this and be pissed off and say my method didn't work. That's what I'm saying, because at the end of the day, you need to understand what's going on behind the screen, because there's a lot of crap happening. You know that, and I know that, but a lot of people don't. So they go try something, and then they're instantly like, well, that method didn't work. It's like, okay, well, you don't know the whole method. So there you go. So what else can I?
Yeah. Okay, so let me process everything you said. And okay, one thing that I really want to pull out here that keeps coming up, and you kept saying this again, is you have to have an audience. How would you define the prime business who is ready for this? What do you mean? How do you define has an audience? Are we talking numbers? Are we talking engagement? Both? What do you mean by that?
Good. Very good question. Man, she's good at this, isn't she? This isn't her first rodeo asking these questions. I love it. So
I want to learn. I'm like, see my notes here. I'm like, I want to learn.
That's good. All right. So an audience is this. I don't think you should do a virtual event if you haven't even sold a product out there, period. Like, if you haven't been selling anything, or you don't have, like I said, a value ladder put together, and you're not selling a value through your value ladder, virtual event is not your way to go. Okay. So that's, first of all, you don't have an audience. You don't have an email list. Excuse me. If you probably don't have at least 1,000 people in emails, now I'm not saying for everybody, I'm just saying, but if you probably don't have 1,000 on your email list, or you don't have Instagram of at least 10,000, or you don't have a Facebook page that has like 14,000, you probably don't have an audience. Now, can you buy that audience? The answer is most definitely. But you better have the ability to do the mathematics to do this and architect it backwards. Okay. So I've done it with people, let's be clear, that don't have audiences, but they are a celebrity that has an irresistible offer. So they don't have the audience, but people know them when they see them. They know that they're the best of the best of their category. They just have never brought a product to the world. Okay. So when they see it, they're like, boom, I'm in. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody that's sitting at home, or you're a dad that's trying to start something brand new, and you could do 5 Facebook videos and people are like, I don't know who Billy is. I have no idea if he even knows what he's talking about. This is not for you, and it's not for the beginner that's just barely getting their feet wet, that really can't afford to pay their rent outside. Because you're going to have to invest. Just to put it in perspective, for the real estate space that we're in right now, our average Facebook spend every month to do $1 million, we're doing $1 million plus every month through this system. That's why it's called what it is. But we're investing $40,000 to $60,000 a month to put butts in seats. Okay,
and it is a pretty. Yeah, and I love that disqualifier. I mean, it's so important because, again, there's so many sexy things that businesses out there talk about, and so many people try it, and they're like, well, shit, I fell on my face. Well, yes, you did. And so we want to help disqualify this option for you so that you can focus all your efforts and energy in doing something else first so that you can get here. And that's why this is such an important conversation to have. Another question for you. Any other ad platform besides Facebook that you guys are finding conversions into these type of funnels?
LinkedIn and YouTube.
LinkedIn too. Interesting. It was very, very interesting that you said that. Yeah. So I spoke to a friend of mine, AJ. He's been on the podcast a couple times, and this all goes back to numbers, you guys. So I don't know. I have to admit, I haven't revisited these numbers for LinkedIn ad strategy in about a year. So hopefully it's a little bit different. But from what I understand about LinkedIn ads, and this is exactly the mathematics, the lifetime value of the customer to run LinkedIn ads, needs to be, I think it was over 15,000, or maybe not 15,000. It was a very high number. Whereas, we look at some of these other platforms and we're running the lifetime value of the ad. It was a really, really high number. And so again, you guys know your numbers.
Yep.
And I love that you guys are running LinkedIn ads. I really want to figure out how to hack LinkedIn ads. I think LinkedIn is well, I've also been saying this for years. I feel like LinkedIn's on the verge, but they're just not moving, but they're still on the verge, whatever that means.
Yeah. We're not running LinkedIn ads. We're running things direct messages into.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So just so I'm clear on that. So
thank you. Okay.
Like, what the heck are you doing? We're actually reaching out to certain realtors on LinkedIn with certain messaging, and we're interacting with them. We have a whole strategy on that.
LinkedIn DM strategies, gold. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing there, and in YouTube. And I also want to stress, a lot of people, when they see our event, will see all the TVs, they'll see all the production end of it. We did our first $1 million event just on Skype and one computer. So it's not like you have to have that. Let's be clear. That is not a necessity. It's nice because it gets you up on your feet. It gets you to be able to see everybody on the screens. It gets you to be able to call people out. It gets you to see the hand things that we do if we send them a box. But do not let that detour you from, you can do it all right here, because you can, 100%.
Yeah. I love that. All right. We talked about a lot. I love that. I just did a podcast recording, and my kids have like an emergency breakthrough. Like my phone will never be silenced when my kids call. All of my podcast listeners know that, like, whenever like the phone rings, I just can't shut it up when my kids call. Yeah. So my kid called in, even though he knows I was recording, and he has like this crazy ringtone. It's like it's like busting through as we're recording here. So we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And I love this topic. So as you guys are listening, Bart and I could just sit here and talk forever just about all this stuff. And we understand that your time is incredibly valuable. We want to give you really tangible information and things for you to process and think about in your business, so you can determine whether or not this is a path for you that is perhaps something that you've been missing. For those of you guys who've been around a long time, do you remember when it was 2010-ish when, webinars that sell was like the thing, and that's what we were doing. I truly believe that live virtual events are that next wave.
Yeah.
And it is a way that we are, as teachers, as leaders, and as people that really want to connect and give people transformation, it is an amazing way for you to make a lot of money, but do so in a way that's impactful for the transformational and impactful for the people that you are reaching. And so we love our events that we do. We haven't done them on the scale that you guys are doing them yet. And so that's why I'm really excited to learn everything that you're doing, Bart. So today we talked about what is a live virtual event, what type of business is this good for? Who is this not good for? Who is not ready for this process yet? If you, by the way, are not ready for this process, tap into the other episodes here on the Sweet Life Entrepreneur podcast. Look up phases 1 and 2, because you need to nail the business trainings here on the podcast and implement those in your company in order to be ready for this. So we've got you covered. We're not just going to say, hey, you're not ready for it yet. We have you covered. So make sure you're utilizing the business trainings here on the show for the phase of business you're in. We also talked about the process, the actual funnel, and you even drew for us behind the scenes this funnel for the visual people like me. So ad strategy and it's not even a challenge. It's this what should you call it? You need to call it something of your own.
I call it a blueprint. Well,
I know it's your blueprint, but like your 5-day thing, it's not like a webinar and it's not like a challenge. It's like there you go. To your workshop. And then into your 2-day live virtual event and into the high ticket or whatever it is, the value of the signature program that you'll sell after your 2-day event. Personally, I think this is a really transformational way to give your clients results, whether they want to work with you long time or not. For those people that are listening, and I do highly recommend, and it's probably why we've been talking about it in Clubhouse so much now it's been like the last 7 months. I do highly recommend you guys tap into this. So please, if you are considering this or wanting to learn more about how to do this, follow Bart. Nothing Bart does is half-ass. Let me just say that. He is not going to throw something out there and just hope that it sticks. This guy builds from the end to the beginning, which is also the true way to build from ground up, is starting at the end and building from the beginning, making sure that you guys are having everything in place and getting a true, predictable, scalable system that you can apply in your business. So again, finding you for this process by the time this episode drops, it's going to be the end of August. We are going to send you guys to, and I am going to be there as well, just so you guys know, following along in this process. And so is my team, by the way. $1,000,000monthmethod.com. And Bart, how else can people interact with you, hang out with you besides going to $1,000,000month.com? I want them to go to, what is your Instagram again?
Bart Allen, Allan Miller is my Instagram. You'll find me there. And yes, I am in a cowboy hat. Yes, I do rope steers. Yes, I do rodeo. So you'll kind of see it. It's like I have multiple avatars when you get in my life. There is actually funny story that April doesn't know, but there is actually a Bart doll that goes to events, and it is not, it actually looks just like me. I did not create it. It was a gift to Russell Brunson by somebody else. So I will be in meetings and this Bart doll will be sitting in a chair, and it might have a cycling outfit on. It could have a bodybuilding outfit on. It could have, I wear multiple hats. Let's just put it that way. So what April told you is when I go all in, I go all in, and people think it's pretty funny because when I go all in, man, if it means riding bikes, I'm in the spandex. I drink the Kool-Aid 100% because at the end of the day, I know those who follow systems win. And that's why I'm able to have bodybuilding trophies behind me and 1 year stand on the stage and win a sword. That's why this year I'm roping for $1 million in Las Vegas, Nevada, because I qualified for it. And I'm not bragging about me. I'm just bragging about I've had the right mentors, the right coaches with the right systems. I follow and I drink the Kool-Aid when I get in. So at the end of the day, there's a Bart doll. So I do wear many hats. So when you get to my Instagram, don't be like, what? This guy is like an internet marketer? Yes, I am. And yes, I do what I do. So there you go. I just don't want to confuse you when you see me here versus there. There you go. Sorry about the rant. There you go.
No, I love that. I love that. Because my Instagram is all like a hodgepodge of who knows what I'm doing. I'm usually on a mountain or on a beach or with my kids. It's actually, frankly, zero business on my Instagram at all. I mean, we do talk about some business, but yeah, I love it. And it's so real. And that's why people, connect with you. Are you roping? Is that the thing in December? What is that big thing in December?
Yeah, the World Series in Las Vegas. Yep, I'll be there.
I am in Vegas every single December during that weekend. Just so you know, but not for that. And the only reason why I can say that is because the plane tickets to Vegas, it's the only time it's like $1,000 to fly to Vegas. My sons always have a lacrosse tournament that same weekend. And we're coming from Colorado flying, and the whole entire airplane is everybody's cowboy hats. You can just look straight ahead, and it's all these huge buckets. It is the coolest thing. So we will actually be there We might have to bring the whole beach fam gang in our flip flops and our non-cowboy. We'll be the only ones.
Well,
not
when I win, I'm taking everybody that's there with me out to a huge dinner. We're having a great time. So after we win,
okay. Well, the whole beach gang might be there. So
awesome.
Watch out what you wish for.
Oh, I'm in. That'll be great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I love talking to you. We could just hang out all day. I know our listeners have certainly enjoyed this conversation as well. You guys follow Bart, tap into him, follow him on Clubhouse, although I don't think either one of us are on Clubhouse as much as we were in the beginning.
Nope.
Wherever this guy is, cool things are happening and fun things are happening, and you are going to get to see behind the scenes of his entrepreneur family and all the cool things that they're doing. But if you truly are interested in using live virtual events to, really expand your business and increase your profit and do things that it's not the everyday webinar. We're not doing the same things everybody else is, because really only those businesses that truly bring amazing information to the table are the ones that are using this strategy. So if that's you, then Bart's your guy. Again, $1,000,000monthmethod.com. Bart, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.